Hi everyone, I'm Irene, you're watching Perpetually Paperback, and today I'm going to be talking about my most surprising reads of 2021. So welcome back to my channel. Thank you for being here. Today I'm just going to be doing a little bit of a discussion about the books that I kind of found most surprising in 2021, and I wanted to do this specific one because these weren't necessarily the best or worst, so it really was not appropriate to fit them in anywhere else, but for whatever reason, whether I, judged the book by its cover and it took me by surprise, or I found that it did live up to the hype or didn't. So speaking of hype, the first book I'm going to talk about is The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. I pretty much hated Taylor Jenkins Reid up until this book. I really wanted to retry her after the one that I had to read for a book club, so I got all the way through it, but I think it really just gave me such a bad taste in my mouth about her that I just was very surprised that I would enjoy anything that she wrote. And I just absolutely adored it. So that one, for me, very much lived up to the hype. I thought it was absolutely fantastic. Another one that I found very surprising was a nonfiction, The Overground Railroad by Candace Taylor. It is the story of the Green Book. And once again, this is a nonfiction. I found this so interesting, so captivating, and I just was very surprised by it. I didn't expect to like it as much as I did. It was absolutely fantastic. I will say, if you're doing audiobook towards the end, just disregard the whole end. All it does is list places. Go look that up outside of the audio. I think you'll have a better reading experience, but aside of that, loved it. I was super surprised and disappointed by The Duke and I by Julia Quinn. I absolutely hated it. Talk about it in many of my other worst videos, but I was very surprised that there was a historical romance that I didn't like, and there's so much to unpack there. I have a whole video on it because I just disliked it with such an aggressive passion that took me completely by surprise. Another one, Joe Abercrombie's series. I actually found that one kind of disappointing, but I was surprised by how much I disliked it. I talked about that in my worst of 2021 video. Not that that is the worst, but I did my worst and most disappointing in the same one, so definitely check that out. Instructions for Dancing by Nicola Yoon. This is a YA story about a couple that ends up learning how to salsa together and kind of talks about their own issues about love. It is a YA. It was very cute. I didn't expect to like it as much as I did. I thought it was surprisingly enjoyable, and maybe that's just more surprising because I don't ever read YA, so for me it was just a nice little lighthearted touch. I liked it. I thought it was very cute. Las Beauty Queens by Ivan Monolisa Ojeda. I very rarely read short story collections. I do not gravitate toward them. They take me forever to get through. Some stories are good, some stories are bad. I usually get stuck on a bad story. After that, I'm like, I've lost all interest in the short story series. I thought this one was so fantastic. This is about queens in New York City at different generations, learning, loving, surviving with each other, and they were funny, heartbreaking. They were just absolutely, it was a brilliant short story collection. Get a hold of it if you can. Read it. It was so wonderful. I really enjoyed that, and I was surprised by how much it gripped me for a short story series. Oh, what else? The China Room by Sanjeev Sahota. I talk about this in one of my best of the year, and I really did find it to be a fantastic read, but at first, the first 75 pages, I was like, what the hell am I reading? I don't like this. It's told in a very, I don't want to say experimental, because I don't know that it's not experimental. That is inaccurately describing this, but it is, the literary devices that it uses I think are very interesting. And it's told in a very clever way where you are a bit confused, but you end up confused in a good way. So I ultimately at the end, I ended up finding myself really enjoying the reading experience, and I was very surprised by that book. and how much I liked it. But definitely, I feel like it should very much have more readership, even though it was long listed for the Booker Prize. I haven't heard too many people talk about it. The last book I'm going to talk about this year is Una Out of Order by Margarita Montemagni. This is, I think we can say, a sci-fi fantasy. Basically, it follows Una, who on the morning of her 19th birthday, basically she wakes up at a different age in her life. So she experiences every year of her life one time, but they are completely out of order. Usually I hear a premise like this and I'm like, oh my goodness, I am going to absolutely hate this. This does not sound like something that I would be into. I ate my words. I was so wrong. I loved it so much. I just had such a great reading experience. I thought that the struggles that Una goes through are really genuine. There was not a very big cast of characters, but I just thought it was told in a really clever way. I thought it was actually very funny in ways. So like it really did remind me of the Midnight Library, but where I hated the Midnight Library for being, I don't know, just irritating. This one I thought made light of some of those things in a really fun way. And just like there's a somewhat, like I think they try and make the character in the Midnight Library, they want us to be empathetic towards that character. I think this author reveled in giving us Una's tantrums and made her so much more humanized. I found her so much less annoying, even though she was annoying and unlikable in some ways. There were some things that were a little bit unbelievable, but ultimately I think that the pacing was good. I think it was funny. I think it was well worth the read, especially if this is not a genre that you're super into. For myself, it was not, but this is one of those where I am so glad that I'm part of my book club, because outside of that, I would never have gravitated towards this. I would never have picked it up on my own, and it was one of my favorite things that I read this year, personally. And I loved that it was outside of a genre that I generally read. So those are some of the most surprising things that I read in 2021, or things that surprised me the most. Anyway, I'll see you guys next time. If you're interested in checking out any more of these videos, I have a whole series coming out on my channel. So definitely check back for more of those. Hit the little like and subscribe button if you want to keep up with me. See you guys next time. Bye.